My name is Ilda and I'm a partner in the Immigration Department at Kingsley Napley. Given that from the 1st of January 2021, British citizens travelling into Europe will be deemed as third country nationals, UK law firms who regularly send British national lawyers to provide advice to their clients in Europe will first need to check whether work permission is required in advance of their travels. This is because every country in Europe has their own immigration rules. Equally, they should be checking whether there's any requirement to register with the Law Society there if necessary. To that end, I'm delighted to have with me today two colleagues. Firstly, my colleague Bernard Caris from the law firm in Belgium, Younity. Bernard is a highly regarded Belgian immigration lawyer, and he'll be answering a few questions just in respect of the issue of the fly-in, fly-out lawyers. I'm also delighted to have with me my colleague Jessica Clay from our regulatory department, who will be covering a few points in respect of what issues you should be considering as a law firm. To that end, I'm first going to be turning to my colleague Jessica, just in respect of the regulatory issues. Jessica, what is the regulatory position for UK solicitors wishing to fly in, fly out, FIFO, of Belgium post 1 January 2021?
Thanks, Ilda. Well, regarding Belgium, there is already a fairly liberal regime in place for non-EU lawyers, and the position for the UK is very much strengthened by positive relationships between the Belgian bars and the Law Society of England and Wales. So on the basis that fly-in, fly-out is permitted for third country lawyers, UK lawyers will be able to advise in Belgium on a temporary basis. And this will include advising on UK and international law, as well as on EU law.
Thank you. Are there any conditions or restrictions attached to the scope of permitted practice?
Some, yes. For example, foreign lawyers can appear with their clients before administrative bodies, but they cannot represent their clients in the courts of Belgium. However, they can attend court on client matters, but when they do so, they must be accompanied by a registered, qualified and practicing Belgian or EEA lawyer.
Thank you. Jessica, will legal protected privilege apply?
In short, Ilda, no, it won't. Not after the end of the transition period, in respect of advice that's provided to clients on a fly-in, fly-out basis.
Thank you. Thank you. So I turn to my colleague Bernard. Bernard, thank you for your time. Do you have any top tips for UK law firms that are intending to send UK lawyers into Belgium after the transition period ends?
My top tip for the UK law firms would be to plan ahead, because you want to know whether the UK lawyer flying into Brussels or another city in Belgium would require a work permit if the lawyer is an employee, or a professional card, that's the permit for self-employed, for the activities in Belgium. There are exemptions, we will get back to that later, but if you need to determine whether one of these exemptions will apply, because if not, you will need to obtain this work permit or professional card, and that can be time consuming. Just to give you an idea, the current average processing time in Brussels for work permit is about 4 to 6 weeks. For professional card, we're talking about even longer processing times. It's about 2 months, 3. So you need to plan ahead, definitely.
Thank you. Assuming that the British national lawyer is flying into Belgium, but just to visit the clients and not necessarily to give any form of advice, what's the maximum time that they can spend in Belgium?
Well, they can spend up to 90 days in any 180-day period in Belgium, like any third country national, without a visa being required. But that does not mean that they can spend this entire time on visiting the client or having meetings. There are a few exemptions. We'll start with employees. So employees in principle need a work permit in order to work in Belgium. But one of the exemptions that's frequently used is the one for meetings in closed circle, which basically comes down to a business trip. It's meetings that relate to contract negotiations or discussing the start of projects, how you want to proceed, etc. But the thing is, it cannot be productive. So it cannot be a meeting where you do your regular work. So for example, If a lawyer would travel to Belgium to discuss a project that will be initiated later, that's fine. That's work permit exempt. If on the other hand, he or she comes to Belgium, will already start working on a project, even during the meeting, it's not considered a work permit exempt meeting. Now, there is also a time limitation to the meetings in closed circle exemption, and this is 60 calendar days per year, as well as 20 consecutive calendar days per meeting, and both time limitations must be complied with. So maximum 60 days per year and 20 per meeting. For self-employed, there's a similar concept, business trips. It's also, develop contacts with clients or potential clients. That's all exempt, so you don't need a professional card, just a permit for self-employed. And there, the time limitation is 3 consecutive months. Now, one important aspect I want to highlight here is when we speak about the employees. If you send employees to Belgium under work permit exemption, it's crucial that you give them a sworn statement and that they take this sworn statement with them to Belgium. And in this statement, it's clearly laid out that they travel under a work permit exemption, meetings in closed circle. This document will be like a first proof if there would be, for example, an audit by labor or social inspection services at the client's premises. It can also be used at the border. If someone asks the lawyer what he or she is going to do in Belgium, it does not give 100% guarantee in the sense that it can be overruled by labor or social security inspection services if they deem that the facts are different and that the exemption does not apply. But at first, it's a first proof, and it will definitely help, and it will be a useful document for employees to travel to Belgium.
Thank you. Is the position then, I'm assuming, different? You've touched on it. If, of course, it's productive work, so it's not just a meeting, then presumably that's when you need some work permit. What does that look like and how long does that take?
Well, if indeed it will be productive work during the meeting, then the UK law firm will need to apply for a work permit for the employee. That will need to be applied for in advance. And as I said earlier, the current average processing time in Brussels, it's about 4 to 6 weeks. If the UK lawyer is self-employed, he will need to apply, or she, for a professional card that can take even longer.
Thank you. And what happens if the lawyer needs to really travel quite frequently into, let's say, Brussels? So, they're going to be spending more than the allocated time you just mentioned.
Well, there is a solution in the sense that apart from the regular work permits, there's also a so-called cross-border or frontier worker work permit, which is valid for maximum 1 year. It does not require you to take up residence in Belgium, but it does allow you to work in Belgium up to 1 year as a frontier worker. And on the basis of this permit, you can also get some kind of temporary residence travel document, which will allow you to fly in and out without any problem up to the maximum duration of the frontier worker work permit. Thank
you. Bernard, the last question. So I suppose if all else fails, we've now secured, we've agreed that the level of what we're going to be doing actually requires a form of work permission, and the work permission is going to take too long to obtain. What should you, or what would you be advising law firms to be doing in that instance?
Well, the most compliant solution would be to try and find an alternative, which could be try to have the meeting online or complete the work online from the UK.
Very much, Bernard. Thank you very much, Jessica, both for your time, and thank you to you two for everyone that is actually listening and taking the time to listen to this podcast. We hope you found this really helpful. We will be running a few other podcasts for other countries, so please be on the lookout for them. Thank you.